Hey, it's Coach Out again. I'm here to hopefully help you on the long essay section of the AP US History exam. This is the 2018 edition. Hopefully they're not going to change much in the future, so hopefully I will not have to redo this presentation in the next couple of years. Just to get started, I thought I would show you some of the results from the 2017 test. Just take a look at the mean score. The mean score for question number 2 was 1.89, and the mean score for question number 3 was 1.51. If you don't know what question number 2 was, it had to do with your understanding of the 19th Amendment. And if you've taken AP US History and you don't understand the 19th Amendment, that is a problem. So women's suffrage was one of the questions. I believe 85% of the students actually chose question number 2 and only 15% chose question number 3. Question number 3 was talk about the effects of the market revolution on women. You sort of see a little trend there. We've had quite a few questions lately about women. I'm rooting for African Americans and American Indians possibly on the next this year's test or next year's test. We'll just have to see. But I'm just always amazed every single year at the low mean score on the long essay. I think this is attributed to the timing of the test in the past. Kids in the past only had 90 minutes to answer the DBQ and the long essay, and this year they're going to have 100 minutes to answer both of those essays. As you can see here, the long essay prompts, those of you that have seen this test in the past, the test questions are a little bit different. You're going to have 3 long essays that you're actually going to choose from. The first long essay prompt is periods 1 through 3, as you can see, pretty much pre-Columbian all the way up to Thomas Jefferson becoming president or through the Adams administration. The second long essay is periods 4 through 6, which is 1800 through 1898. That's kind of the meat of the course. That's why I put 3 asterisks on that particular question. I think my students should look at that question first, see if that's going to be the easier of the 3 question prompts to actually answer, and then you can see the third essay prompt is going to be a late question. That's going to be 1890 to the present. It's going to be a 20th century question probably. You might have to compare some things throughout the 20th century. Again, I go back to I think that you really want to look at essay prompt number 2. Probably your AP US History teacher spent the most time in the 1800s. I know I do. The same skill is going to be used for each long essay. It's either going to be a comparison essay or a causation essay or a CCOT. So you have to just choose one long essay. Make sure you only answer one long essay. Answering multiple long essays is not going to get you extra credit points on the AP exam. This is the new rubric that they have for the long essay. This year, you're going to have 1 point for contextualization, 1 point for your thesis, 2 points for evidence. That 2 points for evidence means you get 1 point for mentioning some evidence that helps to support your thesis, but then you get another point for explaining how that evidence goes about in a deeper meaning to help explain your thesis, to help answer the question. You're going to get a reasoning skill point for making sure that you are either talking about the CCOT, or you're talking about the causation, or you're talking about comparison throughout your essay. I recommend overemphasizing that as you go into your body paragraphs, that you remind the reader what historical thinking skill, or what is now called the reasoning skill, that you're going to use. And then finally, you're going to get an analysis point. And the way that I'm going to teach you how to do the analysis point is you're going to use the opposite reasoning skill. So if it happens to be a comparison essay, like I'll give you an example of, you're going to compare something, talk about the similarities of a particular topic, but then you're going to juxtapose that with, however, these are the difference or differences with that particular topic. Planning and writing for the long essay, or really the essay writing instructions, I always say you're going to have 100 minutes to actually plan and write both essays. They will never tell you that you can't stop writing immediately. I don't recommend that you start writing immediately. I suggest that you take 25 minutes to plan both the DBQ and the long essay. You might even spend 30 to 35 minutes. 35 minutes on the the long end. You don't want to spend much more than 35 minutes planning both the long essay and the DBQ. Why plan both essays? So you can just write as feverishly as possible. Below you can see the writing time. If you do use 25 minutes planning time, you get 45 minutes to write the DBQ and 30 minutes to write the long essay. Timing is everything. You must write with purpose and be legible on this particular essay. There are many essays that are written every single year that are very difficult for us to read, so I recommend that you write as legible as possible. In front of you is a screenshot of your particular sheet that you will be given in what I call the pink booklets. Notice at the top of the sheet it has mandatory number 1, that means your DBQ. And then you're going to circle, are you answering question number, when you start to answer the long essay, go to a new sheet, please, and then circle, are you answering long essay question 2, which is the early question? Are you answering long essay question 3, which is the mid question? Or are you answering long essay question number 4, which is the late question? I think I counted, you have 26 lines to actually write your essay on. I don't have a length of how long this long essay should be, but you know, if it's a 1-page long essay or 1 paragraph long essay, you might not get as many points as if you have a 3 or 4 page long essay. But trust me, I've seen 5 and 6 page long essays that have scored 0 because they've written about prom or they've written off topic. So make sure that you are on topic and that you are trying to write as precise an essay as possible. Here is what I recommend as far as planning your essay. I call it the telephone pole planning. You're going to write at the top of the top line of the telephone pole, which is going to be right here. This top essay right here, you're going to then tell me what is the topic of the essay. And so you write that out here, what is the topic of the essay. You then are going to decide which historical thinking skill is being asked in the question. Is it a comparison essay? Is it a CCOT? Is it a causation essay? And then on the opposite side, it's your however. However, this is the difference. However, this is the continuity. However, this is the effect. So you're going to do those for each of the, for the topic that you're going to be given. Then you create your topic for each paragraph. So what is going to be the topic of each paragraph? As you can see right here, the topic is going to be here, so you're going to have 2 topics, and then you're also going to have 2 topics over here, which are your 2 however. Now you might not have time to cover both of these, but as soon as you list the topic, then I want you to drop down menu that topic. Tell me everything that you know about that topic that you're going to help use in your essay to help support that topic and to help support that historical thinking skill, or what is now called the reasoning skill. Again, the historical thinking skill or reasoning skill should be almost used in a 2-to-1 ratio. You might be able to go 2-to-2 ratio, but at least 2-to-1 ratio, where if you are talking about a comparison essay, you got to talk about the similarities and you got to talk about at least one difference. If it's a causation essay, this is the different one. If it's a causation essay, you can have all causes. This is the multiple causes. So you can have this is a cause, this is a cause, but your however is this is the most important cause. Or you could talk about this is a cause, this is a cause, and then this is an effect. So if you have a causation essay, what I recommend doing is actually talking about 3 causes. Cause, however, this is the most important cause. If it happens to be a CCOT, you are going to talk about the changes probably. They'll probably ask you about changes, and then you got to come up with one continuity. What stayed the same? I've always said if you're going to try to come up with a continuity, you want to look at women, you want to look at African Americans, you want to look at American Indians. Those 3 major groups are always, there's a lot of continuity through U.S. history and the treatment of those 3 groups in U.S. history that you can always go back to as far as a continuity. Writing your first paragraph, I talk about the word contextualization. I have my students write the word contextualization and cross it out so it's like a little heads up to the reader. I call it the Star Wars version of contextualization. So my students are going to write it's a period of and name the time period. Most AP U.S. history long essays give you a time period. For instance, they asked you last year on the second question to talk about the 19th Amendment. Well, then give a time period for the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment is going to be discussed and proposed between 1900 and 1920. That's the age, it's a period of progressivism. So you can name that period. Then spend 5 sentences setting the stage for the reader. You should spend 1 sentence that's before what happened before the time period, 3 sentences that are happening during the time period, and 1 sentence that happens after the time period. You're going to tell the reader a story about the time period that helps to set the stage for the particular question. You then are going to write in that same paragraph, you're going to write your thesis. I want you to take a position on your thesis to answer the question. You explain to the reader in 4 sentences what question you're going to answer and how you're going to answer it with your roadmap. And I'll show you how to do that using your topics and your time period in just a moment. This is a breakdown of what the first paragraph is going to look like. You're going to have the first through 5 sentences, which is your contextualization. You're then going to have your 6th sentence, which is the position statement. You're going to tell the reader what question you are actually answering using the words from the question. Don't restate the question, but use the words, the time period, and the topics from the question to tell the reader what question you're going to answer, and then make sure you take a position. The 7th sentence, and this is where I talk about you're developing a roadmap. You're going to outline the first topic. Just give the reader a simple sentence, and I'm not talking about 5 or 6 words. I'm talking, you can have a compound sentence here, but give the reader a good understanding of what your first topic is about and how that's going to help to answer the question. You then are going to have your 8th sentence, which is going to be your second topic. That will then explain to the reader which of the historical thinking skills you're using and what is the topic that you're going to use to help to explain your third body paragraph. As you can see, the 7th sentence outlines your second body paragraph, the 8th sentence outlines your third body paragraph, and then you have your 9th sentence. And your 9th sentence is your roadmap for your however. Now, I have listed here that you can have your however for your third or fourth topic. It could be third and fourth topic, or third or fourth topic. It all depends on how much time you have left in the test. You're just going to kind of play it by ear and see if you're going to be able to write, 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs on this particular essay. If you happen to write the however and you have the ability to write the third or and fourth topic, then that's going to be your 4th and 5th body paragraph. But that's going to be pretty thick of a first paragraph. So that's the reason that I have my students cross out the word contextualization, cross out the word thesis, to kind of give the reader an understanding that they're in both. In that first paragraph, they're going to actually have both skills. So you really should leave the first paragraph of your long essay with 2 points. Go back to the mean score from last year. Neither mean score got the 2 points. So I'm hoping that you will leave the first paragraph with at least a 2. This is an example of a essay prompt that you could possibly have for the first time period. It says compare the settlement of the Chesapeake and New England regions from 1607 to 1740. The first thing that you should automatically recognize is that this is a comparison essay, and it's asking you to compare 2 regions, the Chesapeake region and New England region. If you've been in any good AP US history course, you should be able to identify the Chesapeake and New England region. Chesapeake, of course, is in the southern region near Virginia, and the New England region is kind of considered the Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut area, along with New Hampshire. But primarily it's going to be the Massachusetts area, because that's what's developing primarily between this time period. So if I were to attack this particular essay, the first thing I'm going to do is my telephone poll planning. And as you can see from this telephone poll planning, I've written down the topic. I've written down that it's a similarity, so I got to talk about the similarities. However, I got to talk about the differences. So one of my paragraphs is going to talk about the similarity between both regions of American Indian relations, and I've talked about that in the beginning they had good relations, but then that relationship changes because of land incursion. I'm also going to talk about the seeking of liberty and a new life for both of the inhabitants in the Chesapeake, but that they're both seeking this liberty and both want to create societies with independent governments, and I'll talk about the development of that. However, now here's where your choice comes in. Depending on how much time you have left, are you going to write 2 paragraphs or are you going to write 1 paragraph? This is where you got to decide, and which one's your stronger one. So if you're going to talk about that mostly men are moving to the Chesapeake region and families are moving to the New England region, you could talk about that. Or you could talk about the labor systems in both that are going to be kind of different. The Chesapeake are going to use more indentured servant and slavery, where the Puritans are going to actually use the Puritan work ethic. So my first paragraph, don't be scared, but this is my first paragraph and how I would write my first paragraph. I'm just going to have you read through it as it appears here on the screen. I believe that this first paragraph would actually get the 2 points. It would get the contextualization point, and it would also get the thesis point. So I'll give you just a moment to read through this first paragraph. One thing that I'd like to point out, if you notice what I did here, is you're going to see in the contextualization, I tried to set the stage for what's going on during this time period. It's a period of colonization. I went and I talked about what's going on before this time period in the beginning in 1492. I then set the stage of what's going on during the time period, and then I talk about what happened after the time period. My thesis statement, I talk about what the question's actually answering. The settlement of the Chesapeake and New England regions will have many, that's my take a position, my qualifier, have many similar characteristics from 1607 to 1740. And then I talk about what the similarities are. At first, both colonies with American Indians are going to have somewhat the same type of relationship. Both colonies also are going to have inhabitants seeking liberty. However, the labor system, I chose to go with just the labor system in both colonies, will vary dramatically because of the climate and the people that are moving there. So it kind of gives you an idea of how I would set up my first paragraph, but you can tell when you look at the thesis what my second paragraph, what my third paragraph, what my fourth paragraph is going to be about. My second paragraph is going to be about American Indians. My third paragraph is going to be about seeking liberty, and my fourth paragraph is going to be about the labor systems. So the reader already knows what it is, and that's going to guarantee my thesis point. I emphasize that you make sure that you put in the however statement, so that is a little qualifier to the reader, a little heads up to the reader. Also here for the long essay body paragraphs, what I say is every time you introduce the body paragraph, make sure you introduce the topic. So I'll be talking about the American Indians in my second body paragraph. I talk about how they are similar, and I talk about the time period. And so you just emphasize that in the first body paragraph. It's a topic sentence. Then paragraphs 2 through 8, you are now going to spend 5 to 8 sentences introducing the evidence, explaining how that evidence helps to answer the question. That's how you get the 2 points. You only get 1 point if you only mention evidence. If you only talk about, the Powhatan and the Massasoit, or you mention some type of, Squanto in the New England region, but then don't explain how the relationships are similar, where you can compare and say that Squanto's relationship and Pocahontas' relationship are going to be somewhat similar, where both of the American Indians and the colonists are going to have a relatively good relationship, but then that will break up later on as they start to expand into both territories. And so you could talk about that. So you spend 2 to 8 sentences explaining as much as you can in your drop down evidence about the topic. Notice at the end of this, I say over here, no UBIs, no useless bits of information. Just don't drop things in there. If you are going to drop a piece of outside evidence into your paragraph, you need to explain how does that help to answer the question. Every time you use a piece of evidence, make sure that you remind the reader how does that help to answer the question. Finally, your last sentence. Restate what you just got done telling the reader that you talked about. The purpose of the last sentence is to remind the reader the topic, the historical thinking skill, and what you just got done saying. The secret to writing a good body paragraph is tell them what you're going to tell them, tell the reader what you're going to talk about, and then tell them what you told them. That's what you're going to do as far as the body paragraph. Your conclusion, if you have time to write a conclusion, you're then going to try to get and solidify that analysis point with what they call historical connections, or what used to be called synthesis. You're going to make a historical connection with a topic that you've discussed in your essay, and then you explain how the connection is similar to something else that has taken place within U.S. history. So the topic of your body paragraph is similar in kind but different in time to another topic. You then will spend 4 to 5 sentences trying to explain the connection between the two topics. If you don't explain the connection between the two topics, you are not going to receive this additional point. So it's just another way of receiving that analysis point. But if you cover similarities and differences, if you cover continuities and changes, or if you cover multiple causes, or if you cover causes and effects, you should also get that analysis point if you do it well enough. Finally, some long essay strategies. This is just a timing thing for you. If you got 30 minutes remaining as you're heading into the long essay section, you are doing quite well, and you should be able to write the entire long essay. If you only have 20 minutes remaining in the long essay, you're probably going to have to write the first, second, and third paragraph. Think about just writing those 3 paragraphs. But if you do that, and you do that well, you could almost get 3 to 4 points, depending on what you're looking at here. You could even scrape together 5 points possibly, but probably 3 to 4 points is not out of the question. If you have 15 minutes remaining, you're going to write that first paragraph and you're going to write that second paragraph. And so what you're trying to do is at least get a 3, maybe a 4, but at least get a 3. And if you only have 10 minutes remaining, which this would be the worst case scenario, but if you only have 10 minutes remaining, you are going to write a great first paragraph and try to get those 2 points. Remember, the mean score on most long essays is 1 point something. So you're going to try to get those 2 points in that first paragraph and hopefully head to a 3, 4, 5. The goal always on every section of the AP US History exam, if you're looking to get a 3, is to get at least 50% in each section. If you're trying to get a 4, you're trying to get 60% in each section. If you're trying to get a 5, you're trying to get 70+% in each of the sections. And if you do that, you should have a good chance of passing the AP US History exam. I wish you the very best on your exam, and if you have any further questions, you can email me at michael.hjort@leanderisd.org. Have a great day.